Hello everyone, I think that you are actually joining us. So we're just sorting out what's happening on this end. I'll just get it up. Great. So it's lovely to see you all. Thank you very much for coming back or hanging around for this last session. I know some of you were only doing musicianship and you've come back to join us now. That's terrific. We thought that, as a way of finishing up the course, we might just reflect on what we've been doing. And obviously there's always a lot for us to talk about. But the obvious thing is for us to try and sort out or to think about what's happened when we've had to shift from face-to-face learning to an online platform. And I guess we're all learning as we go. I know I've certainly been involved in doing some teaching online for a couple of years now. And I'm very grateful to people like Lucinda Gagan, to Hayley Ritchie, who works with us. She knows so much about this. And I feel like every day is a school day. I'm just learning as we go. But we, the teachers, have talked about it. And, we feel, of course, that there are things that we miss in the face-to-face teaching. But despite the difficulties, we also feel that we've managed to learn. We've still managed to share. We've still managed to do the work that we want to do. And I've been delighted to see the sort of progress that's gone on in this intensive mode. So that's really great. Yes, there are some difficulties, and I think there are particular difficulties, say, for conducting. But our conducting folk, Anthony and Steph and Michael, have also said there are great benefits in doing some of the things I've been doing this time. So fantastic. Good on you folk. And I guess then my comment about that would be to say, congratulations. Thank you for being part of the whole Virtually Summer School Music program. We're really grateful that you are here. And then that leads me to a question. Why are you here, actually? And let me answer that from my perspective. I guess we're all here because we want to get better. We want to improve. We want to think about what we're doing. We are reflecting on our practice. We are trying to sort out, by participating in a program like this, what is it that we're doing and what is it that we can do for our children? In my career, I have certainly seen a huge shift in the way our society thinks about music, how our society values music, and whether that music is valuable for the individual on some personal level. I've noticed that music has become very commodified. Music has certainly become part of the commercial world, and we've shifted this idea of music belonging to us individually and collectively to music belonging to corporations who drive that industry relentlessly. And of course, the most pernicious part of that is we tell everybody, oh, but this is your music, this is your talent. When in fact, very often, that's controlled by external forces. So for me, why am I involved in this sort of work? Because I believe that this approach to teaching fundamentally puts the ownership and the power of music in the hands of the individual student. I totally am convinced that this way of teaching has the child, the learner, at the core. And at the core is that person's experience of engagement with and understanding of music. And I'm grateful for all of the people who have taught me about music and about teaching. And I'm grateful for the ways that I continue to learn through these courses. Every day, every time I'm teaching, I'm learning new things. I'm hearing new ideas from people. Of course, I have deeply held ongoing beliefs, but it's all of that refinement that we're doing all the time to improve our practice. So thank you very much for being involved. It's a joy for me to work with and meet other like-minded people. So what are we doing today? We're going to just talk very briefly about what's happened in our course. And we're going to start with the musicianship courses and the conducting. So could I invite Megan Flint, who is working with the 3-4 class, to talk to us briefly. Welcome, Megan.
Remember to unmute. You'd think after 10 days I'd have remembered that. It's lovely to see you all in person, in a big group, and not just the small group that I've been working with. And it's been my pleasure and my absolute privilege over the course of the last 2 weeks to be working with a group of people who are here on their own musical journey. And I think this quote from Korai has been really poignant for me this week. This idea about a single experience opening the young soul to music for a whole lifetime. And I think sometimes we think young soul has to only be about children, but actually I think in music we're all young souls. So each time I teach in this way of thinking about and understanding music that's inspired by Korai's ideas, I think about how each of us in our own journey is a young soul at some point. And these 2 weeks in musicianship have been about journeying with a group of young souls to discover or to rediscover what it is to love something even more when you really, really understand how it works inside and out. And boy, do we really know diatonic scales and do pentatonic scales inside and out. And yet I know as students move on to new experiences, they'll find even deeper and new ways to know diatonic scales and pentatonic scales. We've sung, we've clapped, we've chanted and moved, and along the way we've deepened our understanding of the way music is built and how it moves and how it continues to move us. And I'd like to invite a couple of people from the 3-4 musicianship class to share their thoughts about their experiences. Sheridan, can I pass to you first?
Sure. Can you see me? Yeah. I don't even know where to start really. There's so much I could say about it all, but I have definitely found this week really, or 2 weeks, really beneficial because I wouldn't have been able to attend this summer school otherwise. And so having it at home where I can work at home has been actually incredibly beneficial for me. And also I've really loved having the keyboard right next to me when we're doing something because I don't often understand. It's a bit abstract for me sometimes and I'm not a keyboard player. So having it right next to me, I've found that quite helpful. And I've also found the recordings that I can watch later and sort of process it a little bit better to be able to see it again and hear the same instructions. Really, really useful because I don't always get it the first time around. But just generally, just being inspired by such amazing teachers through either the summer schools that I've attended and just not just the teachers actually too, but all the people who attend, just being around inspirational, uplifting people who are all really enthusiastic about what they do is something that you just can't help but get carried away with and be part of. So it's been wonderful. So thank you.
Thanks so much, Sheridan. And next, can I invite Catherine to speak?
Hello everyone. I'm a time poor teacher, so I just wrote a bit of a checklist or a big idea concepts that I've really enjoyed and benefited from doing musicianship this year with Megan. I came up with 5 things. I've got 5 fingers, easy to remember. Rigor, expert differentiation, individualised learning and ownership, skillful pacing and delivery and engagement, and a really inspiring and successful adaptation of this course to the online platform. So rigor is just synonymous with summer school, and it was no different this year. It absolutely made no difference. We were still in the stretch zone constantly. being in a 3-4 class, it was just a perfect opportunity to see differentiation, this word thrown around all the time, but Megan just did it. We were all at different stages, and it was really nice to watch that in action done really, really well. The buck always stops with us, and so much so in Kadai, like, you take this as far as you want to take it. You're presented with the activities. If you go away and you practice them and you get them, you get them. If you don't, well, that's with you. And I just think that's so true to life. In this new platform, I actually found that I think the stakes and the bar was raised higher, because we were called upon every lesson. All of the time, you just hear your name and away you go, do this and be stretched some more. So it was wonderful. The pacing and the engagement, I felt like we didn't cover like huge amounts of repertoire, but we went broad and deep, and that's a message that I get in my daily life often. I think everything in musicianship shifted to this new platform really, really well. The written exams were actually more enjoyable, as it was just sort of short, sharp, and it was over, it was done. I think the one thing that we missed, and we probably all missed this, was the music in the air. At a face-to-face summer school, you go to a break and there's just ensembles rehearsing, and it's just a lovely feel and a lovely vibe. But all in all, I feel really renewed and reinvigorated to take on whatever 2022 will present us with. So I really thank Summer School for that. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Catherine, and thank you to everybody in the 3-4, 1-4, however many different levels were in the class. It's been a privilege to have worked with you over the 2022 Virtually Summer School, and I'm sure our paths will cross again in the future. At this point, I'd like to pass back to James.
Thank you so much, Megan, and thank you, Catherine and Sheridan. Really interesting to hear from you. I, of course, was working with the level 4 people, and in fact, I had 2 level 4 groups, one in the morning and one in the evening, and we ran that class in the evening, particularly for international students. We've got a group there in South Africa, so running a course in the evening allowed them to be involved as well. There's another advantage of the online program. Yeah, we can be a bit more flexible. For me, this is always just such a great class to work with, because these are folk who have a music background, usually an instrumental sort of background, and not being familiar or exposed to the Kodály ideas, the various tools that we use. So this is my job, to try and tie together the Kodály ideas and tools and approaches with that instrumental background, and that's exactly my experience. I was an instrumentalist, a piano player, and I came to the Kodály thing late. So I feel like I've got that lived experience that I can share with them, with the others. Of course, the thing for me, that the thing I'm talking about to the students all the time, is this idea of the importance of the inner game of music. It is the way in which we can hear and think music, not add an instrument only, even though that's valuable, but that the real game of music happens inside our minds. And Kodály, of course, uses this quote: we should be able to read music in the same way that we could read words. Now, for many of us, that hasn't been our training, but it continues to be our goal. And of course, the more that we understand it, the more that we can bring that to our own teaching, to make sure that Australian children get the same opportunities for learning. The pathways for excellence in music performance and music engagement are there for our children as much as they are for anyone else. So, can I ask Ali Nicholson, who is in my class, to just share a few thoughts? I didn't let anyone know in advance, so all I've done is warn them that I may pick on them. You there, Ali?
Hey, yes, I'm here. This is my first experience with any of this Kodai training, so it was very eye-opening from the first day, where I thought I had a bit of a basic understanding of it, to realize that, yet no, I didn't have a very basic understanding. There was so much to learn, and I feel that in this short period of 2 weeks, you've managed to teach quite a lot that I can keep working on now for the rest of the year, which I will try and keep working on it. And I'm going to make the kids practice with me so that I can continue my skills, because I want to improve my skills, which is why I've done this course, so that I can improve my students' skills. So I feel that I've gone a very far way in such a short period of time. And having this online format, I live in remote northwest Queensland. I don't have the opportunity to go into Brisbane to do this sort of stuff. So an online format for me has worked so well. And like it was said before, to have that keyboard sitting beside you when you're muted, you can play and sing along to yourself before you're called upon. So there's that little bit of extra benefit there, rather than being sitting in a face-to-face class where you can't actually do that. So I'm actually loving this online format for little things like that. So yeah, I've found it really good, and my skills have, I think they've gone quite far.
Thank you, Ali. And of course, one of the joys for me is to see the enormous progress that happens for folk in this class. All the best up there in northwest Queensland, Ali. I know it's not as cool as here. I'm sure you're enjoying the heat. Could I ask Li Ching? Li Ching is a very advanced piano player, fixed-do trained, and has put herself in this class so that she could take a bit more information, learn a broader approach. Li Ching. Maybe Li Ching isn't here. Not to worry. Li Ching, did you unmute if you are here? But if not, could I ask Caroline Pichere? Caroline is a recent graduate from the Con Clarinet. Caroline, tell us about your experience.
I thought it was really good, and I did like the online more than I thought I would, because it just gave me more time to practice while others were doing stuff, but while it was super fresh, and then also so that I could write my own notes as we went to help me remember. I liked the course a lot overall. It was a really good challenge to learn new skills, and has given me lots of ideas of what I can do now to develop my own skills more, and then also how I can include it more in my own teaching for my students. So it's been really good.
Thank you so much, Caroline. All the best as you are finishing off your education degree. Caroline mentioned something which I think is so important. Courses like this not only give you skills, give you something to do right now, but it gives you a way forward that you can continue to practice and develop your skills and knowledge. So thank you very much, everyone in Musicianship 4. And here is my group in the evening. We have quite a group of people there from South Africa. You can see Makiko also from Japan. So lovely. And there's lovely Catherine Hazelwood, who's in Singapore. So for these international folk, it was a great opportunity to be involved. All right, could I now invite Carla Trott to speak?
Thanks, James. Everyone, I've been given one of the longest quotes, so I'll give you one little second to read it. So for me, this quote is very much about how music should be important. It should be fundamental in our students' lives. And our job as music educators absolutely is to foster that love, foster that flame, that passion for music. So when I reflect on this and my everyday life, I teach an oral vocal program to students every day where I integrate music and language. So what I'm doing, I'm using music to help students express themselves, to communicate, but also to develop their phonological awareness. So very much preparing them to read English alongside music. And it's such an interesting thing to do every day, to see their development and see how important or how aligned music is with their ability to express themselves and to communicate. But then when I think about this quote and link it to the summer school, I think very much that it's not just about how we express ourselves, how we communicate, how much music means to us. I think very much that this quote is about the spirit that we all have shown in these last few weeks. So my musicianship class, we've very much gotten into what does the spirit of Kodály philosophy actually mean, and we've gone on tangents that maybe weren't so much related to pentatonic scales or modes or chords or anything like that. But for me, I have not seen any difference online to in person, how much the spirit of Kodály lives on with all of these participants. They have inspired me. I have seen animals, babies, families, breakfast, everything come into this musicianship class. Maybe only a few tears, but they were good tears. And I'm so inspired by these participants because they have just managed time zones and life, but they have absolutely engaged themselves in music because it is their passion. It is their language. It is their spirit. And I just want to congratulate everyone, not just in my class, but everyone in this summer school, because I am just so inspired. You have done this in your holidays. You have gotten up early in the morning and you have made yourself work. You have challenged yourself. And I just think that's fantastic. And you've challenged me as well. All those curly questions. Thank you. I love answering those curly questions. So I've got 3 people who are going to talk and they know they're not allowed to go over 60 seconds. So the first one is Edith.
So, James, I've just asked if I can share my PowerPoint. I know we got lovely photos here.
Edith, 60 seconds.
Ooh, let's walk. Quick.
I don't know whether we can share a PowerPoint.
If James stops sharing his, I may be able to do that.
Sorry, we've
Sorry,
said that you can't do it, Edith. Can you just tell us instead? Sorry. You're welcome to share your PowerPoint with us on Facebook. Could we do something like that where we could all have a look at it later?
I'll just read my thing. Number 1, my apologies. I know I only got 60 seconds, but don't time me. Number 1, my heartfelt thanks. I want to acknowledge James, and all the reason will be listed on the PowerPoint. That's why I don't want to embarrass anyone, but I know James is being part of that. Yeah, I'm hilarious, I know. And I want to acknowledge Megan, acknowledge Haley, acknowledge Michael. The Michael who's doing all the breakout rooms. and my personal heartfelt thanks to all my methodology and material lecturers, musicianship and conducting and choir lecturers, and then all my supportive classmates. And I thought that it's actually not about my personal experience, but to praise Carla. That's why I've prepared PowerPoints all about Carla. So first, I want to say thank you for having the online experience, because I've never been to Brisbane, and my hat off to those people who's done all modules, both modules, all at once within 16, 17 days. I hope that one day I'll get the experience when I got money and time and the courage to do that all in one. And I love how we space it out, because now I got time really to put myself into the music and to really make an effort to learn the conducting songs and the choir pieces and the musicianship materials. It is what I never got before. And so I'm going to move on to Carla. We love Carla, and all the girls and women, cats and babies love Carla's. And now I'm going to quickly do it in, sorry, I'm not going to talk about time. Carla, believe me, she's super cheerful, talented, musical, knowledgeable, organized, dedicated, diligent, encouraging, and cute. 2, I love the warm up that we do every morning with her beautiful tops. 3, the beautiful and meaningful repertoire she's chosen for us. 4, all the audio and video recording that she made for us, especially the one that she looks so tired. I know Carla's been stopping me. And her hilarious laugh. And also Carla is super caring and understanding. And it is exactly what we need. And I want to get a folder that we hold on to the thank you notice that we've also done for Michael. And thank you for all the talented classmates and our wonderful Carla. I know it's 2 minutes. Thank you.
Well, that gives a little snippet of what Musicianship 5 was like. Crazy, intense, but pretty funny. The next person was Annabelle, and she gets 50 seconds because Edith took a long.
Well, hi everyone, kia ora. I'm Annabelle. Right now I'm in New Zealand, so Kiwis out there, hey! We had so much fun in Carla's class, and then I just couldn't get enough. So some of us in Auckland did get together in real person. People out there, I know you're jealous, but hopefully we will get another in-person summer school soon. And so Carla is the first person that got me excited in modes. That is very exciting. That's that I'd say it's an achievement. And I used to be in Megan's choir for 5 years, and she made us sing pentatonic scales every rehearsal. So thanks to Megan to prepare me for Carla's class. And again, thanks everyone. And that's it for me.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks, Annabelle. And of course, contact Annabelle if you're in New Zealand and you want a real person catch up. Last person, I think it was Sarah.
I'm very short. Musicianship 5 with Carla Trott. We started each day with a skip and a hop, deep stretches and breaths and pelvic alignment, depressing reminders about upcoming assignments. We discovered Labana, Baroque ornamentation, sang intervals, modes, took melodic dictation. 3-part sing and plays by Li Hui and Jade. Our classrooms sat still, great memories made. Online or in person, the support is the same. Our friends in the picture, the college, the frame. The skills we have learned will be ever far-reaching. So thank you, dear Carla, for your magnificent teaching.
Gosh, well done, everyone in level 5. You all wish you were there. I know, but it was pretty special. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, James and the Sound Thinking Cuscallie College of Music team. I'm passing over to Michael Bradshaw.
Thank you, Carla. And I think in a second we'll have the quote. And first of all, congratulations, everybody, not just my classes, but everyone for completing the 2 weeks. You made it. And thank you, James, for this quote, because I think it's one that gets a lot of us passionate, because how many people, and you can raise your hands because I think I've got most of you on my screen, how many people do have this passion that we want to prepare our students so that they've got a real foundation for a life in music, and that they're not building on sand. But I like the quote also because I think it's actually it speaks to our own experiences. Let's be honest. How many of us feel like one of the reasons we're here is maybe in some way our musical experience was perhaps built a little bit on sand? Now, in case you can't see the pictures of everybody, if pretty much everybody's hands went up. So I think it's useful for us to realise this is why we are a community. We have our insecurities, and we have our days, especially maybe when canon sing and plays are coming up, when you just think, am I even a musician? But we certainly are, and we're united in our vision of not only improving our students' musical learning, but also our own learning. So what did we do in level 8, 7, 6, 5? Because it probably felt, 8, 7, 6 probably felt like it started from 8. But in our musicianship, we felt like we were on sand because we started with our canons. We had canons, we were looking at modes, we were looking at all of these things that probably quite a few of us felt were rather daunting, but we all made it. And in our last class today, just when people thought that we'd be wrapping up and having a nice, easy lesson, we went through a few jazz chords, looked at how we could sing to solfa, these modulating jazz chord progressions. But importantly, we ended up by looking at how actually all of this complex music, we can sing a simple pentatonic scale above it as an improvisation task. So one of the things we chatted about was in our upper level musicianship, it sometimes is easy for us to think, why are we doing this? My students aren't going to be working at this level, maybe some of them, but why are we doing this? But hopefully we all realize that actually for us as musicians, as long as we continue growing, that will fuel our inspiration and for coming up with new ways of best practice for working with our own students. So you've been an absolutely inspirational group. You very much embody the Learning for Life motto. So thank you very much and congratulations. I also did not tell people ahead of time who was going to be speaking. So I'm picking on them now. Melissa, can we hear from you?
Hello. Thank you for choosing me. I was very organised and wrote everything down. So here it is. This is so I have attended Brisbane Summer School, but this is my first time online, and I did actually think that it was going to be less engaging. I was completely wrong. Michael was, skillfully guiding us through all the areas with a lot of warmth, a lot of confidence, and was always really happy to provide constructive feedback towards improvement, like in all areas. We were able to sing parts along with Michael's recordings. We were able to navigate through like tricky passages with Michael's guidance. And the support provided yet again by Michael and the camaraderie shown by the class was actually extraordinary. I know that we missed the face-to-face during the morning teas and everything else, but even the little chats and the encouragement that was shown just through when we were chosen to do our individual performances was really great. My favourite part was yet again all the kind of 3-4-part canons that we sang, but we had to like imagine, and that was a huge challenge, really, really great. The additional challenge that Michael gave us was also the dictations. So after every class, he'd be like, hey, have a dictation, have fun. And then you'd like submit it in and say, here, Michael, here's my homework. And that was also really good, made you really accountable, made sure that you were still kind of on track. They were marked. Michael was really great with providing us lots of feedback, lots of written feedback, lots of strategies, lots of ways to move forward. And what an awesome experience. Really, musicianship's been amazing. This year, I feel so much more accomplished, increased in confidence and acquisition of additional tools to my toolkit. And also I've learned just through Michael and everyone else, how to maybe navigate teaching online, because being in WA, I think we've had a week and a half of online learning. I don't want to brag, but I really also feel like whatever's coming up, this was such a way that Michael's shown us to do yet again in talking about best practice, but in online learning. It's given me a really great insight. So thank you, Michael. Thank you, James. Thank you, Skelly College of Music, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Melissa. Andrew, can I pick on you next, please?
Yes, you may, Michael. Yes, musicianship online has been a challenge in itself. Anyone that's been in Michael's class knows that he is synonymous with the massage train at the start of his classes, and I very much miss that. We even did, even had to do warm-ups at the start of each class. It felt like we were there. Had to remember to put pants on before the Zoom meeting started. But no, it's been really, really good. A lot more, I guess, sing and plays without the written test part of it. And I guess the pressure was off with the dictations not being a part of the assessment as such. But Michael was very good in the way that he taught a lot of it. We started at a level 6 part, and then we moved on to level 7, level 8, and he showed the building blocks to get to those next levels. And he encouraged those who started at a level 6 to even stretch to get to that level 7 and that level 8 level if they chose to, and he gave us the opportunity for our assessment to go for those higher levels as well, which was very encouraging. And in particular, I wanted to point out, Michael, your recordings of all your canons and all of the epigrams and everything was, he could tell us to sing in canon, but he would take the third part out and we would sing that third part. And it was just amazing. Your technological smarts were really good, Michael. So thank you. And thank you everybody in the class. Your participation was fantastic. And we were throwing ideas off each other throughout the whole 2 weeks. It was fantastic. So I thank you all.
Thank you, Andrew. And thank you again to my wonderful 6, 7, 8 musicianship class. We're now moving on to the conducting classes. So I'd like to hand over to Stephanie.
Hi everybody. I used to wonder why or how I ended up in music, and I realised that I didn't choose music, it chose me. And music has become my nourishment and my comfort, and I can see the beauty of life just multiplying through my experience and involvement in music. I'm sure that's why you are here too. And so in a moment, we're going to hear from a couple of students from the Conducting 1, 2, 3 class. In fact, I've chosen a participant from each level, 1, 2 and 3. So Kirsty, Catherine and Beck are going to get ready. There you go, I've given them a little heads up. While I just give you a reflection about some of the things we've covered in class. And I think a light bulb moment for us was discovering and learning different beating patterns, how to gesture entries and cut-offs, conducting in a 2-part canon, getting that left-hand independence. And that wasn't the end of our learning. In fact, I called that Act 1. And it was Act 2 that we realised there was a whole new world. And that was discovering that in vocal music and choral music, there is text. And that means we need to understand the story and the message, the type of writing of the text, the background and intent, but more importantly, understanding sound production in singers and across the choir. And that requires an understanding of the vowel. The vowel creates the line and the consonants add that sparkle to create the words. And there is a correct way of teaching these vowel shapes, which are not helped by our Australian accent, inside and outside of the mouth, and a clarity required for the consonant so that the audience can understand that text, which is the story and the message of the performance. And so ultimately we discovered that conducting wasn't just about beating in time, because the vast majority of us know how to be in time, but it's about gesturing guidance, about the vowels and the consonants, and it's about reminding singers of the discussion that's been had across the journey of rehearsals at that point in time of the music. So that's been a wonderful 2 weeks of learning there. I'm going to ask, did I say Kirsty, Catherine and Beck in that order, please, to share their thoughts from our class. Thank you.
All right. Stephanie, you've been amazing with us, from your very musical gestures and your bright facial expressions. It's been wonderful working with you. My initial goals were to be more musical with my conducting and less rigid. So we went back to very basic beat patterns to make sure we had no bad habits, and we fixed those. And then we have become more musical to the point that we can now do while we're conducting beat patterns. And unfortunately, I'm not working with choir at the moment. I'm working with strings, so they look at me funny if I attempt to do that. I wish I'd done this sort of Kodai training 10 to 15 years ago when I first heard about it. And I really wish universities would have said, hey, go do this in the summer. Don't just have a holiday and go and work and earn money. But here I am, and I've loved every moment, so thank you so much.
Okay, hi. Oh, hang on a moment. I'll lost my words. So this, I did level 1 conducting. This was obviously my first year in a conducting class. As previously I'd been with Lucinda, and we were doing our early childhood presentations, which was fab. So I always thought I would take really well to conducting. I thought it would be really easy. So wrong. It's incredibly complex. So much to take on. It's really daunting. I think for me, being level 1, the biggest challenge I had was just getting to use both hands independently from each other, and it was just incredibly difficult for me. I had to unlearn some of the conducting skills that I'd been taught at university many years ago, and relearn, thank goodness, with Stephanie's patient and calm guidance, how to hold my hand, just the real basics of curving and not holding it like a T-Rex, or keeping my wrist still, and including the ictus. I'd never heard of that before, so much learning every day for me. Yeah, it all felt very awkward, but I can see that I've come on a fairly big journey, but I've got such a long way to go. I'd love to be able to put this into practice a little bit. It's a bit hard when I teach 18 months to 5-year-olds. I can give it a go, but they'll probably end up copying me, so maybe it'll be a good thing. But anyway, watching you, Stephanie, is just like watching a magician. You do incredible things with your hands and your facial expressions, and how you get your choir to make the different vowel sounds. It's really inspiring. So thank you so much.
Yeah, this is the first time I've done the conducting classes as well. I've done little pieces of the summer school, but just for audit, just to try and get me through my jumping into a primary school setting. So this is my first assessed summer school, which has been definitely an eye-opener, and it's been a lot of hard work, but it's been awesome. The online conducting lessons were a little bit tricky because we didn't get enough time in there to actually see everybody conduct and get feedback, but we also had 3 levels crammed into one. But it was awesome to be able to send in videos and then get very detailed, specific feedback, even if it was just that little bit delayed. So yeah, positives, negatives either way, but yeah, I really have enjoyed it. As I said, I haven't done the conducting at summer school before, but I imagine we would be conducting the class that we're in to be able to put what we're learning into practice. So I think I miss that side of things. It's not really the same conducting to the walls in my study. Yeah, and one thing that I really picked up from Stephanie was the not just beating time as a conductor, but actually putting in the vowel sounds. That was something that I've never experienced. So actually doing the different hand signs to show the type of vowel sounds that you want your singers to be producing, rather than just changing your face. Sometimes you need extra little things to show that. So thank you, Stephanie. It's been fantastic learning from you.
Well, thank you so much to our 3 speakers on behalf of our whole class, and I do want to commend our Conducting 1, 2, 3 and all the participants for their commitment to a really intense 2 weeks of learning, and I wish you all the very best as you take this learning to your workplace. Thank you. We are going to pass on now to Anthony.
Thanks, Steph. Great to hear the beautiful work that's been going on. I love this quote. I'm very grateful for James for choosing it for me. It says that we should teach music and singing in such a way that is not a torture, but a joy for the pupil, and instill a thirst for finer music in him or her, a thirst which will last a lifetime. I always remind myself that the verb for music is to play. So you'll say, go and play some music. We don't say go and torture some music, and we don't tell children to go and torture themselves in the playground. We tell them to go and play. And sometimes we forget. And so I think that's a pretty important thing to remember. We used to in the old days call them the effective objectives of the syllabuses. And they were that people would develop a love of what they are doing. And so I think that's a really powerful thing to remember. And let's face it, people, we're doing this all day, every day. So do you want to be playing or do you want to be torturing? I think playing is a much better option. And so I think Coda really nailed that. We want to teach it in such a way that it is a joy for the pupil as best we can. So in that context, I think I really wanted to congratulate, from what I've heard, I should be congratulating everyone in the summer for having that sense of play in the best sense of the word in our learning. And I really wanted to commend our conducting class for having that freedom and sense of play, so that when we were conducting, let's face it, you feel very exposed when you're conducting a class or singing to a class or presenting sing and play. But if you think, well, this actually could be fun, and the worst thing that can happen is that I might actually get better, you feel a lot better about it. And that's come a generosity of spirit amongst each other, and a generosity on our part to open ourselves up to learn. And so I think that's been a feature of the summer, again, even though we're not together, and also a feature of our class. And so I think the other thing I really wanted to get our class on is how powerfully, in spite of technology and not being in person, how powerfully, very quickly, they created a community of conducting students that really, who really worked together. And I'm just immensely proud of how much more musical everyone has got in terms of actually making our conducting look like the sound we want. And so I didn't warn people that they were going to speak. Thank you, James. I'm following instructions. I'll just reiterate the 60 to 90 second rule. I have gone for less than 2 minutes. So Alex Dalman, do you want to have a quick chat to us about how you found things?
Absolutely. Thanks, Anthony. I have loved conducting 4 with Anthony Young. I actually wanted to take conducting 4 because I wanted to learn from Dr. Young. I heard a lot about him and the pedagogy and the experience that he has. So I specifically did conducting with him. And what a great choice. He is such an amazing educator and teacher. From the beginning of every class, we did some really grounding warm-ups and vocal phonation and really great things that I can replicate in my choirs. It was absolutely beautiful music and repertoire that he chose that we were able to conduct, and the opportunity to conduct to the wall has been really eye-opening. And also to conduct in front of a mirror constantly to practice instead of in front of other people, because you can see clearly the things that he can see. So when he gives you feedback, you can go and practice it, which is what I did. And there were many times that I, stood my kids in front of me, practice conducting, and just so many beautiful experiences we had in our class. And he was right, we had such a beautiful community, so encouraging. Every single time someone conducted, there'd be 20 messages in the chat, well done, you're amazing, high five. And that was so encouraging, so that instead of being scared about conducting online in front of everyone was putting their hand up. I want to have a go. I want to have a go. So it was beautiful. The thing that I really want to finish with is how inspiring Dr. Young's his lessons were, and he always had further reading. He'd say, oh, this, do this, do this. Oh, and then what about this? Constantly on tangents, and you're writing notes furiously about all the things that you're learning, but then you also did further reading. I think you could go and study more, which probed your learning, your understanding. Excellent resources, excellent vocal production, excellent ability to know how to build a singing culture at schools. That I am so keen to do that with my schools in the future. Thank you, Anthony, and thank you, Conducting 4. You're muted, Anthony.
Oh, there I go. I'm very grateful for the recordings this year because I've been able to rewind and watch people over. And that's really helped with the with helping with the conducting instead of that pressure in the class. And just to finish off, then, how about Hayley Blackiston? Are you there, Hayley?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Can you hear me? I'm hoping you can hear me. Good. Yes. I think, yeah, Dr. Young, you are such a fount of knowledge. You're such an amazing educator and a musician. And as Alexandra said, so supportive. Your feedback to me and to others has greatly not only improved my conducting, but so many other things in my teaching. The strategies to improve the musicianship of my students. I've learnt so much. I have a repertoire of movements to program my choir. I have much more confidence in my left hand, my beat too, in my conducting pattern. I've learned how the breathing is connected to my conducting, how posture is so important in getting what I want out of my choristers, making everything smaller, makes it so much clearer and more effective in my conducting. I've learned so much about changing voices. I teach in a voice school, so that's been really fascinating to me, and particularly vocal health. And I know my musicians, but also for myself. Being on Zoom has allowed me to not only see my conducting, but I loved watching the conducting of other students in the class, which has been very powerful. Thank you so much. You've been the loveliest teacher and I've learnt so much. Your support, as well as the wonderful community we had in our class, has given me so much confidence in my conducting. Thank you.
That's lovely, Hayley, and thanks everyone. I'm very strongly committed to the summers. I do believe that our Kodai courses are probably one of the few things left that's really, really useful and going to change teachers' lives for the better. And I told my class if it wasn't summer, I wouldn't be teaching music anymore. So thanks everyone for continuing this so that we all have a future. And thanks, I'm going to stop talking because we're running late because I need to get straight on to Michael, but sincere thanks to everyone and keep on making great music and keep on singing. Let's go, Michael.
All right. Again, congratulations to the conducting levels 5, 6, 7 and 8. That was a bit of a fantastic mixture. Now, the world is not lacking in conducting courses, and I think that's largely because, after all, who doesn't want to feel self-important and stand in front of a bunch of people and tell them what to do? But picking up on what Anthony has said, I think what we do at summer school in terms of conducting is really, really important and unique. Not necessarily because of what happens within conducting class, but what happens around it. So we all do musicianship. As James says, so much of the art of music, and I'll try and link up to the real art, there we go, there's the key word. So much of the art of music is in our inner world. And conductors who walk up and you can tell immediately which of them have a vision of sound and which of them don't, and are purely going through the motions. So good on all of you for putting that effort into musicianship. It pays off in conducting. But also unique to the summer school is the pedagogy work that we do through methods. The reality is, unless you're working with professional singers or professional orchestra, where probably it's advisable not to suggest how they can sing better or play better, we are working with people that really need you to provide excellent pedagogy. And conducting is just as much about how can we build confidence and skills in people that we're working, whether they're primary school students right up to community choirs. So I think it's worth taking a step back and going, sure, we've been focused on conducting within conducting class, but actually it's much bigger than that. So in our level 5, 6, 7, 8 conducting, we sort of said that probably our technical work like beat patterns and cues, cut-offs, that they're starting to settle and become very much part of our automatic aspect of conducting. So we really looked at how can we add more art to our gesture so that our communication is even clearer. And we really looked at two things to do that. One was an idea of active beats and quiet beats, so that we can break away from we have to always be beating 4 to can we actually have some beats that are less active and more, and the possibilities that opens in terms of phrasing and nuance, and also the challenges that poses to us in terms of our score preparation. The other thing we looked at was some of the theories of the Hungarian. A lot of good people come out of Hungary, it seems. The Hungarian choreographer and philosopher Rudolf von Laban, whose analysis of human movement, breaking it down into aspects of time, space and weight, gives this really rich language around movement and communication of human experience through movement. So those we started adding in things like how can we create more of a float to the sound? Do we want that in the music? How can we give more of a glide by adding direction? How can we make that glide into a press by adding weight? Is it good to be in a press state with our conducting for the voice? So all of these side topics that we were looking at alongside just consolidating our technical bread and butter of conducting. So that was our conducting course, and congratulations to everybody again for doing that. Again, I am picking on people that do not know that they're talking. Rachel, are you here? Yes, I see you.
I am here. I've moved from the study to outside, which is quite nice because I've been stuck inside for the last 2 weeks. So hi everyone, my name is Rachel. I am in my 6th year of teaching here in New Zealand, and actually my Kadai journey started back in 2015 when I did my secondary level 1 the first time it came to New Zealand, and then completed my secondary level 2 in 2017, and this summer school has commenced my level 3 step, which is really exciting because it's been a huge journey of learning and creativity, which has been fantastic. In the conducting 5, 6, 7, 8 class with Michael, I think when we started on that first day, Michael probably thought he had a few more advanced conductors than he did when he found out pretty much the whole class was about level 5, and Peter unfortunately was the only level 8 kind of having a go. So we've covered all sorts from Mozart to Mahler to Stravinsky to Hensel movements. We've done all sorts of different conducting over the last 2 weeks, and especially working on those accented and unaccented beats. Michael has really opened our eyes to the Laban movement in terms of gesture and different types of gesture in the way we conduct. And I think that's been really beneficial for a lot of us who quite often put ourselves in a box and think that the only way you can conduct is with those strict patterns. So we've been really breaking outside of that box with our gesture, with our movement, and we have been gliding, floating, stabbing, punching, we've been slashing, creating all sorts of different gesture movements in our art form to convey the action that we want. And I think that's probably the biggest takeaway that I have this year heading into my year of teaching and taking choirs, and that it's actually about expressing what I want from the music from my students through the way that I conduct, and not so much about the strict 4/4 or 2/4 pattern that I have to keep going the whole time. So thank you, Michael, for everything that you have done over the last 2 weeks, both in musicianship and conducting. And I know that our classmates in conducting as well have just found you absolutely brilliant. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Rachel. Peter, I'd like to pick on you next.
Thanks, Michael. I've had Michael for both musicianship and conducting this time. And in fact, I've had Michael every time I've done musicianship at summer schools, which is the best thing on earth, actually, I think. And I was a little nervous doing it on Zoom, but it's been really fantastic. And someone mentioned before about seeing how good educators work despite the limitations of being online. Really, I think Rachel and Michael have both said what we've all felt about conducting, what we've covered. I've appreciated that really everything has come down to the music, and that it's all about the music. It's all about communicating what's at the heart of the music. And if I can have 3 seconds of indulgence, part of my journey starting in 2019 was with the summer schools was I knew nothing about solfa apart from that song in The Sound of Music. I'd never heard of chord charts. I'd never done canon singing plays. I'd never heard of those. I had no background in education. And really, even though my job is actually primarily as a conductor, I didn't have much actual conducting training. So to do all of this stuff has been really fantastic. And the thing with all of these summer schools, and I felt it very much this past fortnight, is just not only having this exposure to a type of music education that I wish I got as a child. I wish this is how I learned music as a child. It's given me the tools to be a much, much, much better musician and ultimately a much better person as well. It's really been life-changing what I've experienced. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that has experienced that either. And I just hope that we can be as much a part of that for our students as the wonderful staff have been. So thank you, Michael, and thank you, James, and thank you everyone that makes these just, you know, such incredible weeks and inspire us really forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Speaking of online feats, the job that nobody envies, I'm going to pass to Susanna, who somehow makes choir work online. So handing over to Susanna.
Thank you, Michael, and good afternoon, everyone. I always love to be with the Kodály community, especially those who have gone through the summer school training, because we are all more or less facing the same challenges. And we always have to, with all the subjects that we have learned in the summer school, it always pushes us to the next level. We have to learn how to face the challenges we have. Take, for example, in musicianship class, I believe that everyone always say, this is the subject that, I have the most fear, because every day there are a lot of challenges. And because with all these, it actually helps us, it actually prepares us to face the pandemic. Because in the past, we have already learned how to think of ways to engage students, how to be creative, think of fun activities to help students to improve their topics. So therefore, during the pandemic, it is actually a very, very good practice for us as music educators to think of ways to still continue and engage our choir members in the rehearsal. Of course, I also miss hearing voices singing at the same time, but I feel during the pandemic, with this online rehearsal, I get to know every choir member better, because everyone have to do their recording and I have to sit down and listen to everyone singing. So can you imagine that in the past few days, I do have quite a lot of alto singing the song If There Were Dreams to Sell. The whole night, my mind is humming the tune of the alto part. But it is amazing, to get to know every member in the choir, and which in the past I only have worked on the overall sound, and maybe I only get to know a few more active members in the choir, but now I get to know everyone in the choir, and I feel that this is actually also bringing people closer. So I feel that music is the fastest motivator in the world, and singing is one of the most organic humanity. I want to say thank you to all the choir members for your hard work, for your effort, willing to face the challenges together. And I also want to say thank you to James, Michael, and Haley for having me to work with you all this summer. And of course, I miss traveling to Brisbane very much, and hope that we all can meet in person again very, very soon. So I'll pass it back to James.
Thank you, Susanna. And thank you, everyone. For me, it's so heartening to hear your thoughts about it, about the summer school, not just from the staff, but also from each of you as representatives in that class. There is one class which we haven't been able to have with us today, and that's the early childhood class. That early childhood class is taken by Lucinda Gagan. So she has taken during term 4 weekly classes, and those folks then were here for the research component. If any of you know Lucinda, you know that she has this deep sense of what it is for children to be engaged in learning and how they can learn more broadly, but also very specifically in music. You can see behind me a little bunch of roses that we just picked, just to show off because we could. And Lucinda has this lovely story or this lovely analogy, and she says, a child is like a rosebud. And if what you do is take that rosebud and tear it open to see what's inside, it's destroyed. It will never, ever become what it should become. And Lucinda always cautions us to take our children seriously, that we shouldn't be rushing ahead, that we shouldn't be adulting our children too early, that we should allow a child to develop and grow and bloom in the fullness of time. And I'm always so grateful that Lucinda is involved in our work here in Australia. She really brings such depth and such spirit to what she shares with us. Can I acknowledge all of the people who are in that class with Lucinda? Well done, Alina, you were there. So you can see there's quite a few people. There were more than this involved in the program during the weekly lessons, but these were the folk who have now completed the research component as well. Well done, all of you folk, terrific. And that just leads me to remind you about the opportunities that you have. Remember, what we've just done is called Module 1, half of a training course for a level 1 or level 2 in the Australian Kodály certificate. And that what you should do is the other half. This is the skills half. And now you should find, if you possibly can, find yourself in one of the pedagogy modules. So we've set it up that you can do a module 1 and then a module 2. It then works a module 2 and a module 1, etc. But I would really encourage you to continue on with that work. So that it's a fantastic opportunity, and we are finding that it is working online, and we're hearing from you that it is working online, and this does allow us to have such fantastic presenters involved. So let me offer a vote of thanks to all the staff, to Michael Bradshaw, Carla Trott, Megan Flint, Stephanie Eaton, Susanna Saw, and Dr. Anthony Young. So they're our tutors, we know are world class. Here we are in little Australia, but we have world class people involved, and it's fantastic that we can include people, Lucinda, Susanna from overseas, as part of the course as well. And of course, Michael and Hayley, who are sitting here, continue to make the thing work in the background. We all know that I get lots of great ideas, but we've got to make those ideas work somehow. So my thanks, my personal thanks to Michael and to Hayley for all of the work they do to make sure that this works. Folks, maybe I could just summarize very quickly. I'm hearing this word community, and I'm grateful that you are part of that community. I'm grateful that we are in that community together. And I'd make the observation that as we get older, look at me, I'm old. As we get older, we have to build the sort of community we want to belong to. And I'm very aware that the folk who are here are the sort of folk who are the community that I want to belong to. It's not just my next door neighbours or the people who live in my town. We now live in a world where our community is diverse and often quite disparate in terms of where they live. My community are people who believe in making an effort, people who want to build a better world, people who are willing to help and support, people who are optimistic, and people who wish the best for those around us. Thank you for being part of that community, and I'm privileged to be part of that community with you. It's summertime, folks. Well, for most of us. Perhaps some of you overseas, it's not summertime, but it is summertime for us. So I thought we would end with this beautiful little blessing from Faye. Words are here. Have a listen. It says, "May these long summer days be peaceful. May the hurts of the year fade away. May our love and our labor be fruitful. May the people become less afraid. May respect be stronger than judgment. May forgiveness be stronger than pain. May the rain fall again in due season. May the passion to sing never wane. Perhaps the idea of summer, long, warm days, and perhaps that's that time where we stop and take stock of what the world has been for us in that last year. And despite all the difficulties and the challenges, may our love and our labour be fruitful. May the hurt of the year fade away. Can we let it go? May we as a people become less afraid. Can we continue to offer our respect to one another, even when we don't understand or we don't agree? May we forgive, and we know that forgiveness is one of the paths to happiness. Let's let go of all that stuff we don't need. And of course, for us in Australia, the rain, the life-giving rain, and all that water represents in our psychology and our spirituality. May we continue to sing. Would you sing with me, please? May these long summer days be peaceful. May the hurt of the year fade away. May our love and our labour be fruitful. May the people become less afraid. May respect be stronger than judgment. May forgiveness be stronger than pain. May the rain fall again in new season. May the passion to sing never wane. Have a great year, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.